You know, you can go to any church right now, almost any church, and hear a pastor preaching about prosperity, preaching things like, well, you should suspect in large amount of money to just appear in your bank account. Some unknown source of money to occur through mail. You're just gonna run into a bunch of money and it's gonna change your life. The interesting thing about this sort of thinking is this money, where does it come from? And where does it ultimately ends up going? You're gonna take this money and you're gonna buy a car. And what most people really have a bad tendency of doing is forgetting that a car ultimately costs money. Okay? Even if you buy it outright, the maintenance, I'm talking insurance, registration, gas, oil changes, tire changes, car washes, interior and exterior, replacing the light bulbs. A car winds up costing money continuously. The same thing applies to houses, boats, you name it. So if you don't already have money and this prosperity preacher is telling you that money is going to appear out of thin air, but then you're just putting yourself in more debt. It doesn't make sense. Prosperity, true prosperity, is not a matter of what possessions you have in the world. It's a matter of what possessions that you have after the earth and what occurs to you, what occurs inside of you while you're still here. True prosperity is being able to love and change your environment permanently on a level that it doesn't matter whether or not you have or you don't. You can still be happy, joyful, and content in the situation that God has allowed you to be. True prosperity is storing up riches in heaven. Jesus said these type of riches, they don't wither away. Moths can't eat them. They don't decay, rust, and get old. That's true prosperity. Yet, everybody wants money. Money, 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 money. To do what? To give it back to the world. This money comes and it goes just like wind. It's here with you for a moment, and in the next, it's gone. And it's even worse what people are willing to do for these financial gains that ultimately just lead to worthless things. They kill, steal, lie. They burglarize, rob. All of this destruction for a laptop, an iPad. No. For a gold chain and a nice pair of sneakers. Folks, I want you to think about this. What's more valuable? The ability to impress others with your earthly possessions, or your ability to discipline yourself, to have patience, honor, respect, and God's favor? You see, one thing that we all acknowledge at one point or another is that no matter what you gain on this earth, when it is time for you to leave, your possessions are going to be divided up. People who you don't even expect to have your possessions will have what you worked so hard for, and they will do exactly with it what they will. So prosperity teaching, to me, it's really a waste of time and a misleading message that was misunderstood to begin with. So then we head further down the street, same neighborhood, and we run into the church where the preacher only preaches about sin. Sin is death, and you're gonna die. That's the devil. So this guy is really into trying to enter heaven by your good deeds. Kind of reminded me of, the Pharisees or the Sadducees, where it's your good works, and it's not even your good works, it's just you not sinning, right? Everything this guy talks about is about sin. Everything. Sin this and sin that. And you're gonna die because of your sin. But it must work for some people because they keep on coming. I never understand something like that. This next church is really interesting. It's within the same vicinity. You got these preachers that they are said to be by their congregation real. You hear people say stuff like, well, I like my pastor keeps it real. And I'm like, well, real what? Real unappropriate? Because a lot of these pastors are just over sexualized. They are unnecessary in some of their phrases and what they say and when they say it, how they say it, how they constantly allude to the very things that we're trying to get away from. Like, they might have themes that are similar intentionally to be like the world, They want to have happy hour. Like, literally at church, they're calling it happy hour at church. They want to take the music, this worldly music, and they want to put gospel lyrics behind it. The music itself is an energy. The music, it has a spirit to it. And I would get in depth with that, but that's for another video. However, this particular pastor, he talks a lot about sex. Sex. All the time. It's kind of grotesque. sometimes it's these preachers that also use profanity. They use bad words, right? What we would consider to be language that is inappropriate for children. Saying that, well, I'm just keeping it real, right? And they use this language, and I guess it's like, it's exactly that concert atmosphere because people know that they're in church and, well, pastor cussing and pastor talking about oral sex, and they feel comfortable with that because that's the world, and that's the world that they're still in. That's the mindset that they're still in. And they haven't really met the Holy Spirit. So they have no idea. They're not bothered by it. When you have the Holy Spirit, when the Spirit of truth enters you, okay, and gives you the power of discernment, you'll become uncomfortable hearing a preacher, anybody who claims to be a shepherd. When you hear them talk like that, it'll become unnerving, and you'll have an issue with it because you'll completely, either you'll understand at one point that there's something wrong with it, but you know it just doesn't feel right, or later on you'll learn what's wrong with it and you'll just know. So God's Spirit doesn't sit well around that sort of atmosphere. When people start talking like that, it creates a problem, and either you're gonna feel it or you're gonna know it, and it's not gonna last. But again, at this church, you know, the pastor keeps it real. Okay. We continue to go down the street and we run into yet another church. And this church is really interesting because with today's political climate, you got to be careful of how you address this issue, right? Because in this church, there's a lot of homosexuality. It's rampant. The choir's homosexuals, the preacher's homosexual, and your spirit knows that there's something wrong with this. The Spirit of truth knows that there's something wrong with it. And no matter what these people say, okay, what they do, it offends you, and you know it. Now, I'm not a gay basher, and I certainly don't believe that God hates gays. But I know that my spirit tells me that there's obviously something wrong with this situation. You got the guys and you got the girls. So that's it's an interesting situation. Now we pull into probably the last church, and the pastor has like 3 people in a congregation pregnant at the same time. They are using tricks to fool people into thinking that they're healers and they can heal from across the room. These guys can literally float, levitate on magic carpets, and you know, these type of churches, right? They expose the foolishness. And what I mean by that is they expose how far people are from God. There is no excuse as to why you don't have the Holy Spirit. You should be able to discern. You should. You should know that there's something wrong with these situations. All of them. If you see a woman in church wearing something that reveals her shape, my question then is why? Why do I have to know how curvy you are? Like, literally, I'm not here to observe you, and you don't have to wear that. The clothes that these women wear to church, they can literally leave church and go right out partying. That's a big issue, and it's a sad thing. And these pastors are intimate with these women. So are their deacons. And I've seen a lot in this modern day church, and that is exactly why I don't attend. I don't go to any church that is in a building. I don't participate, and it's because of these reasons. The modern day church has become a joke, but I look at the people who attend, and you can't just blame the preacher, because these are hustlers. These are people who are trying to make their money, right? These people are doing what they gotta do to get their con, or to get their slice of the pie. But you, as an individual, you ought to know better. You can go on YouTube and easily find a lot of people who are knowledgeable when it comes to the Bible. They know all types of verses, and they can quote really well stuff right out of the Bible, but they lack the Holy Spirit. They read the Bible like it's the Sunday paper, or instructions of how to set their printer up to Wi-Fi. This is how they perceive the Bible. There's no Holy Spirit there. There's no discernment. So they don't get the interpretations, neither the revelations. So they are far from the truth. So I'll leave you guys with this. Church begins within us. This is one of the reasons why Jesus said, no man will teach you. Because church begins between us and the Holy Spirit. Church starts with us. It then goes into our relationship, our marriage, our family, immediate family, within our home. Then church continues outward, encompassing more and more of our reality. Church doesn't only exist in that building right down the street where you get to go and see how well people are dressed and what cars they pull up in and how they know their scriptures and they fall out and roll around and the music and all the antics of the show. That is not church, people. I love you. I'll keep you in my prayers. And I'll talk to you all in the near future.